It is hard to overstate how influential the findings of that committee were and how much influence they have had on this indictment that we're looking at right now. You know, this case was kind of in limbo at DOJ a couple of years after January 6th took place. It's not hard to see why. It was a novel case. Nothing like this had ever happened before. It was totally unprecedented legally, and of course it was politically fraught. But then the January 6th committee did the Herculean work of interviewing all of these people, some of them for the first time, putting together this compelling narrative, and then saying to DOJ, and here are the criminal statutes that we believe you could pursue. And they sort of tied it up in a neat bow in a way that had not been done before. And what's the result? It's the indictment that you see this week.
To build on what Nancy just said, perhaps the most important thing Chairman Thompson's committee did is it brought Trump to the center of the story in terms of making him, in their view, the mastermind of this conspiracy. Recall what happened in the days after the Capitol attack. Democrats in the House and some Republicans mounted an impeachment process against Trump, and they impeached him. And they impeached him for inciting a riot. It was about Trump's conduct during the day of the Capitol attack. What was the first subpoena issued by the January 6th committee? It came in September of 2021, and it was about phone calls Trump was making to Giuliani and others from the White House on January 5th. What the committee uncovered through its reporting, through its interviews, is that Trump was driving this, not reacting to a rally. Trump was pushing this into motion.
And we saw that with the tweets, of course, that are outlined not only in the indictment that we're familiar with as well, the continued invitation to his supporters to come to Washington to not only stop the steal, but in his words, to essentially rally against the
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. Thank you very much. It's going to be wild. Yes.
Two other things from the January 6th committee. We've talked about it before, but it bears repeating, which is so much of the testimony came from people who were in the room and as close to the president as possible. And the January 6th committee put all that out there so that this wasn't just hearsay. This is people who were fact witnesses in the moment. It also cracked open some things. Remember, there was that fight over John Eastman's emails. And in that course of that, the U.S. District Judge David Carter looked at those emails and found that in one filing in Georgia on December 4th, that John Eastman said, wait a minute, we can't say that this many votes were for dead people. It turns out that's not true. But then they went ahead and said it anyway. Why is that important? Because one of the things at issue is whether the president knew that what he was saying was false and went ahead and said it anyway. And that was cracked open by the activities of the January 6th committee. Also true, Vice President Pence's lawyer, who testifies to the fact that the president was told by John Eastman that the scheme actually wasn't lawful. Again, to the heart of the special counsel's case.